All right. Hello and welcome, everybody, to the Super Baca Bros channel. I am your co host, Angelo Baca, and with me, as always, the multi talented and always sharply dressed Philip Baca. Phil, how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I have one type of shirt. I'm really like a cartoon character. Like, go in my closet and I have like seven V-necks, all the same style, same size, just different colors.
You're like Free Guy from that Ryan Reynolds movie. Have you seen that, by the way?
I no, I almost rented it the other day. I had
Buy
a
it.
free.
Don't rent it. Buy it.
I think the problem is that Kate really liked it, so that kind of ruins it for me. But
I know, and I get that. And Kate, I know you're probably watching. No offense, but in all honesty, it's a great movie. Like, I was gonna rent it. We did Friday night. We were like, we're gonna rent it. We did a whole movie night thing, and I thought $4 extra. You know what? $4 extra. I'm gonna buy it. Best decision. I highly recommend that.
wait. Where were you renting it from?
Amazon.
And it was only $4 extra to buy it. How much was
Yeah,
it to rent?
$4.99. Buy was $9.99, but I also got $1 off for some reason. So I don't know.
Oh, that's crazy. Is that the usual price for buying on Amazon? That seems pretty cheap. Like
Yeah,
usually
usually
like
it's
20
20
bucks.
bucks or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. I highly recommend
Total
it. Really
movie.
good movie. Moral of the story: that dude only has one shirt.
Oh yes, I'm a cartoon character and a video game player or
There you go.
character.
So yeah, today we are talking about Marvel's Eternals. The movie just came out on Friday. We're gonna be doing our. You're on the right, actually. You stupid son of a bitch.
I made the overlay.
Yeah, I know. You're pointing to the chat, essentially, is what you're pointing. Well, my chat, anyways. So Marvel Eternals came out on Friday. Today is Sunday. Phil and I both have seen the movie. Hopefully,
I
that'd be
didn't see it.
awesome.
No,
One of us didn't see it. That'd be amazing.
that sounds like a fun stream. We'll have to do at one point where we pick a random movie that neither of us has seen. One of us watches it, the other one doesn't, and we just have to try and figure out, or the audience, I guess, has to figure out which
Our
one.
audience figured out who, yeah, has
Yeah,
actually seen it. I feel like if
yeah.
I'm the person who hasn't seen it, then I would be probably best to like try to bullshit my way through it because I'm a big bullshitter. But at the
Request the
same
bullshit.
time, if you were the one figuring out if I'd seen it, you'd probably figure that out quickly. But the audience probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, spoiler talk. Spoiler alert right from the get-go. We are going to be talking about things in the movie. So if you haven't seen it, we understand if you want to leave. If you have seen it, you want to join us in the chat and the topics that we talk about. Or if you haven't seen it and you don't give a shit about spoilers, we salute you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
I feel like there's a specific person that applies to you very much.
That's Brittany and our mother is who that
Yeah.
applies to. It's like Gary, I had she was over here not too long ago and we were watching Doctor Who, and she was like, "Just tell me if they all die. Just tell me. I don't care." It's like,
Just
I
go
don't
with
even
that.
know. I'm watching the damn thing with you. I don't know.
It's almost like she dislikes watching movies and TV shows. She just
Yeah,
gets anxiety. She just wants to know what happens without having to actually watch it.
she's like the anti-watcher. She's the
Yeah.
Watu's Bizarro version. So before we get into the movie and all that, I just want to quickly talk about at the bottom of the screen. Sorry, right there, we have our follower goal. We are this close. We just need one more follower to reach our goal for the month of November. If we do that, I have a couple of surprise things that I'm going to be popping up on the stream, whether it is our neighborhood RPG D&D show that we do on Tuesdays at 9, or if it is the Too Much Time podcast that you are watching right now, or just some random video game stream for the whole month of November. If we reach that goal, every stream I will be doing something sporadic, as Phil likes to say.
That was you came up with that word.
I know. I didn't come up with it. We were watching. I don't even know what it was. It was just me being Angelo, I guess. And I just thought like the word sporadic was interesting.
There was some other word. I'm so sad.
I know. We've thought about this for years, whatever that word was.
like bedazzled or something.
But that's not it. We say that every time, but that's not the word. So if you're watching and you're not following, hit that follow button. You'll be doing yourself a huge favor and us. So we really appreciate it ahead of time.
There, there will likely be some kind of sick rhymes or something being dropped.
Dope, yeah, dope sick rhymes for sure.
You're saying might have some special things up coming up if we do hit that goal. Maybe like a nude stream or some kind.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that is a good possibility.
Well,
See what happens. Hit that follow button to find out.
I'm not on board. I would probably unfollow. I do follow the channel. I'd probably unfollow if you did that, but
well, you know what? You never know until we get the goal. So
yeah, people are into all kinds of crazy stuff.
Exactly. So with that out of the way, talking about Eternals and their powers and abilities that they have, it's interesting because not a lot of people know about Eternals, but each one, even though they're all fairly, strong and durable, each one has a very unique sort of ability or power. And watching the movie, you'd realize that like, what power would I have if I was an Eternal? And that's something that I was wondering if you've thought about, Phil. What sort of power would you have as an Eternal?
I was busy yelling at my kids.
I figured. I do that prior to the stream starting. I do a group yell.
Oh, I do 24/7. Apparently, they don't listen. I don't know. Yeah, I was trying to. It's tough because I feel like there's an obvious one that would definitely be the best one to have. But I'm trying to think more from my personal preference. Obviously it'd be cool to be able to fly and shoot lasers out of my eyes. I just don't know how functional that'd be. I guess it'd be one thing if I'm gonna have these powers and I am an Eternal. I'm gonna have to fight, monsters. But it's different if I'm gonna have these powers and I get to just be Phil, just going about my day.
That's a good point.
Because if I'm fighting monsters, yeah, I want lasers and I want to fly. But if I'm just some dude with 3 kids, I guess Cersei would be interesting, like being able to transform, anything into anything else.
Yeah.
Make some food for the kids, or
I wonder how in depth that power actually is. Is it elementally wise, or is it changing literally something into something else, whatever it could be? Because it seemed to be like water to wine or whatever.
Yeah.
To be very basic on the explanation, or wood to rock kind of thing. But is it you could change
rock
it to
many things.
Yeah, rock. Yeah, that was a good joke. There was a lot of humor that I think this movie definitely needed at the appropriate times, and then that was a pretty good joke. She was very proud of herself, and I was laughing.
Yeah, it seems like it's a matter of kind of changing something into something else as opposed to kind of creating matter. That'd be kind of interesting.
I like that one.
How about you?
I think the changing myself into look like other people, the sprite ability, and also, see, I don't know how far you'd go with it. It's either change myself to look like other people, and on top of that, like create other mirror images of myself and other people at the same time. Like all of that together seems like a really good package, because it's a versatile ability and power to have. And so I was actually watching a Doctor Who episode, and somebody had a very similar power, and they used it like in a very inventive, creative way.
See, it's funny that you keep describing her power as kind of changing her appearance or making multiples of herself, because it's much more broad than that. It's just general illusions of any kind.
I think it's only people though. Like she couldn't. Oh no, she did mountains and volcanoes and shit. That's right.
Yeah.
God damn.
That's very telling of your the way your mind works. That it's all about creating copies of yourself or changing the way you look. I don't know what that says.
If I'm being honest, it would just be a bunch of copies of myself in one big, huge, orgy. Essentially, is what it would be.
Too much. There's too much talk about you not wearing clothes in this, and I regret I regret starting it. That's my fault. That's on me.
Yeah, it's totally on you, man. But yeah, that's what mine would be. I just think it's not a lot of
Yeah.
people. Everyone, like you were saying about the flying and lasers. I get that, but there's a lot of different things you could do with Sprite's ability or Druid. His ability was pretty impressive what he could do with that, because it's usually like one person's mind you can control. That dude controls a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know if in this climate, I want to be able to control people's minds, but yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think mine would be. So now, having got all the awkward Angelo nakedness out of the way, let's go ahead and get in.
No more.
Let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes, what we're talking about, and that is the Marvel Eternals. I wish I had like a sound effect. It's like, Hold on,
We're kind of setting up for like a rebrand or something. I guess we can.
Yeah, we could work that out. Here, I got this though. I know you can't hear this, but we got. Hold on, let me do that again. One more take. Now we can talk about Marvel's The Eternals. Door open, and then at the end of the episode, I'll shut the door.
I'm just seeing the follower bar just like slowly
go down. I wonder if people watching this and they hear that noise and they're wondering, why do I even have a door open sound effect? Like, what is that going to do for the stream? I don't know. I was just messing around with it. I have a few other sound effects that have no sort of prevalence or relevance to what we're doing.
I'm imagining on your deck you have a certain number of buttons you can hit, and you probably came up with like 4 or 5 obvious ones that you needed.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, I should have something on all these other buttons. Then you just grab random, completely useless sound effects just to fill it all out.
You are a little too spot on to be sure.
Right.
I'm noticing myself on my stream over here. I am really pale.
No, I think it's good. My lighting's all crazy today. But
I think you look good too.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see how it looks now. I just turned it down. I got a slight delay, so still pretty pale, but we're doing it. All right.
So, getting into Eternals, we'll kind of do a quick synopsis. I'll try to be quick. Sometimes we can kind of get too in the weeds, but the basic idea is that there are these kind of godlike beings that have been on Earth for 7,000 years. A lot of our kind of myths and some of the ancient gods are actually kind of based on some of these characters.
Yeah.
Who were around helping humans to, advance and protect them from this kind of alien monster race that was attacking humans. And this is all kind of at the, they're kind of doing this at the behest, I think of a better word, of these, planet-sized godlike celestials, which they are, kind of guided by.
All right. That's a synopsis. You had such a great synopsis before we started, and you, as you predicted, you added a little bit here,
a little
bit
there.
Mean, not too much.
I think the celestial part is obviously an important part of it, so I figure I would kind of foreshadow it now. We'll probably talk about it later.
Yeah, and we definitely need to talk about it. So that is the basis of the story of the movie. Going into this movie, outside of the actual story itself, it's a huge cast, lots of different actors, really interesting director, writer as well. So really excited going in to watch this movie. How did you feel about it after seeing it?
I liked it. I'm not going to talk about, we'll get into the stupid stuff that's going on in the world around this later. But I don't know. I liked it. I think it's always tough when you have a origin story, which this is, and it's always tough when you have a team of characters, which this is, and it's very large. It's probably one of the larger teams. that we've had in this kind of a movie. So they're juggling a lot, plus introducing all of the backstory of the Celestials and all that. Um, all that in mind, the fact that they put out, you know, a coherent, enjoyable movie in of itself was amazing. I think the more I get away from it, the more I just kind of appreciate, um, kind of what they're able to pull off. And I think the one thing I kind of came in with is that, there's kind of a complaint sometimes that's leveled on Marvel things where the characters in it don't feel like real people sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't, have real emotions. They don't, there's no real like, I mean, literally one complaint is that there's no sex in the movies, and that's not just that there's specific sex, but just the idea of them being kind of sexual creatures. And there is a literal sex scene in this movie.
Yeah, I brought my kids. I wasn't prepared for that. I was not prepared.
Got some explaining to do.
Yeah. My kids are good. They cover their eyes. They're trained well.
And so yeah, I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about it is that, these were real, even though they're not humans, these were kind of, real creatures with real emotions, and yeah, I really appreciate that part of it. How about you?
I definitely echo your opinion on that. And on top of that, talking about a Marvel movie in general, there's a lot of complaints on the formula of Phase 1 Marvel movies where they're very similar, even though they're about different characters and that sort of thing. But they follow a very similar trend where it's like the hero has a villain that mirrors who the hero is, just as a bad guy, and there's not a lot of depth to the characters themselves. And even going off of the whole sex thing, and to kind of inverse that, the chemistry between all the different Eternals, the relationships, I should say, it was done extremely well, where each person had their own sort of good and bad experiences with the different Eternals as the 7,000 years went on. And on top of that, the relationship between Cersei and excuse me, Dane Whitman, who's that, Kit Harington's character, I thought was done extremely well. So getting even though they're not humans, getting the human experience side of it, which is kind of a story of this movie, where a lot of these characters come into the situation as like gods essentially, and realizing that the humans that they're trying to help develop have real worth and meaning. The human side of it was done extremely well. So I appreciated the movie.
So we usually have kind of a strict format. We decided to kind of take it a little more kind of off the cuff. So I mean, what's when you think about this movie, like what's kind of like the first part of it that you'd really want to kind of get into? Like, what was the thing you kind of came away with the biggest takeaway?
The relationships, I think, is one of the biggest takeaway.
Okay.
It's tough too, because it's not even just a Marvel movie where it's like Captain America and his relationship with other people. It's literally 8 different main characters essentially.
I think it's 10 Eternals.
Yeah, trying to
Or 9.
have some sort of flow of storytelling while giving the chemistry and relationship building, and I thought it was done extremely well. Throwing on top of that, honestly, one of the most interesting characters in a Marvel movie ever, Cersei, played by Gemma Chan, I believe. I thought she did an amazing job, acting wise, portraying kind of her insecurity as a leader figure in this group, and also a love interest between 2 different people. I thought she did an amazing job, and everyone really did. To be honest with you, everyone did a very good job doing that. But she really stood out.
It seems so ironic that they're literally, spoiler alert, like kind of alien robots, or I don't know what you call them, synthezoids or something. But but yeah, I think they're some of the more human characters that we've had in any of the Marvel stuff.
Yeah. What about you? What's the thing that really kind of stood out for you as far as this movie's concerned?
Um, I mean, we kind of talked about expectations and um, I'm having a hard time thinking of words. Kind of speculation
Yeah.
about a lot of the stuff beforehand, and I definitely went in with a lot of expectations, and it was different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That was one of the surprising things. I'm not super familiar with the comics. I've never read any of them. Just like I think a lot of kind of armchair comic book experts these days. Um, I'm more familiar with them from hearing about other people talk about the stories or
Gotcha.
that kind of stuff. But I was a little surprised. I felt like the characters were actually a little bit powered down. Um,
Mm.
I was kind of assuming that they were coming in, that they were all going to be kind of, you know, invulnerable and, much more kind of godlike. And I kind of actually appreciated that they weren't. That, when they were in fights with deviants, like there was a real um, sense of danger, and that, um, any of them could be, harmed or killed.
Yeah.
Um, again, that helps kind of make them feel more kind of more human.
That is a good point, and kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, the fight scenes. It's so funny because a lot of different fight scenes in Marvel movies are entertaining and explosive and that sort of thing. But for the most part, except for a few that I could think of off the top of my head, the fighting and the choreography doesn't at the same time tell a story while they're doing that. Like the best example for me that does do that is Iron Man, Captain America, Winter Soldier at the end of Civil War. Like that was a
Mm.
great fight scene that also continued the story at the same time. But most of the other ones don't do that, where it's just like explosions and this and that and
Yeah,
lasers. This movie did do that. The fight scene in the Amazon where they all get attacked by a bunch of the deviants, and how not only it was entertaining, like them doing their different abilities, but also showing their weaknesses and concerns for each other throughout that was done extremely well. And then, going forth to and I don't want to get into this because this is one of my favorite parts of the movie, but the end fight scene is probably the best example, maybe besides, the Captain America Civil War fight scene, of an awesome fight scene that also tells a really good story and continues the story forward.
yeah. I was kind of surprised with some of the fighting. I think a lot of especially the earlier fights, they're a lot of the Marvel stuff. Like let's say like Black Widow, for example.
Okay.
She's just a person. Like she doesn't
Yeah.
have any superpowers. And literally, the climax of her movie is her having a fight scene as she falls from hundreds of feet in the air,
Yeah.
as the building is like collapsing around her.
Yeah.
Um, and in this one, a movie with these literal gods, um, the fight is definitely epic because the planet might explode, and there's this, huge creature kind of breaking through the crust of the earth, but it somehow still felt more grounded. The none of the action sequences are really that kind of like grandiose and epic. Um, they feel much more kind of visceral, kind of like you mentioned, Icarus is fighting in the Amazon. Like when that deviant is kind of holding him down, and um, it feels real. It felt you know like you're kind of in the moment, which is something. And I don't want to keep talking about other movies, but something that you don't usually get a lot of times in these movies, where it feels more like a video game almost.
Yeah. And I have to say that the the whole Icarus storyline with Cersei and what I thought was going to be Dane Whitman at the same, I'm really glad they did this, where they introduced Dane Whitman and Cersei's relationship at the very beginning of the movie, and then went away from that. They got rid of Dane Whitman. He wasn't there because I thought there was going to be this weird sort of three-way love triangle between Cersei's Icarus and Dane, and they didn't do that. Dane, they set up his character for something else down the line, and I'm really happy that they did that. It's a maturity of Zoe Chow and the writing to say there doesn't need to be this constant sort of romantic conflict throughout a movie to still have a romantic conflict in a movie. It's there. People understand the situation.
I think too, a lot of times, less is more.
Exactly.
If you have, like, say, if Dane had kind of used the sword early on and kind of joined
that
the
was
team,
my concern. Yeah,
I think it would have been too much because there's already tons of characters. There's so much backstory they're having to get in. If you also, and the story with Icarus and Cersei, we get a lot of time with that. Like, we really get to kind of live in it and kind of see kind of what happened, and that's to the benefit of the movie. And if you would have thrown Black Knight in there earlier and had a more active part of it, you wouldn't have gotten all that. You would have had to spend more time on him, and I appreciate that we kind of got the time to just really kind of be there and experience what their relationship was like.
Yeah, plus the way they did that too with flashbacks, I thought was very interesting because they could have gone the different route where it just went from 5000 BC, continued the story till modern time, and they went back and forth. I thought was a risky decision, but I except for early on moments where even for me the movie was slow-ish.
Yeah.
I thought it was done very well. But to go back to what we're talking about, this is a lot of characters they're trying to set up, and a lot of time, a huge time period to go over as well. So they did a very good job, and I think Selma Hayek, who is not a huge part of this movie, to
Yeah.
be sure, the moments that she was in it, I thought she did a very good job, imbuing this sort of um, motherly slash leader figure, which I think we should probably talk about that. Every single one of these characters was created at the same time. There's no mother or father sort of figure, which is what it's like in the comics. But there's still this primaternal hierarchy situation that I think the movie did a really good job exploring and also kind of tweaking a little bit at the same time.
A little bit. I mean, like you said, you don't get much of her. That was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you kind of mentioned too the idea that they use flashbacks. That might have been interesting if they hadn't, for her sake, because if you had seen kind of everything kind of chronological, where she's there and she's the one kind of guiding the team, um, it might have made her death even because she's the leader of the team, but you don't really get to see that too much before she shows up dead. You hear them say she's the leader, and I think they even call her or reference to her in some kind of motherly way at certain points. But we don't really get to see that much before she died. So it would have been interesting if they would have kind of shown more of that first before killing her off.
Yeah, and they really relied upon the other Eternals' reaction
Yeah.
and to her death as like the gravity of all of it, and they did a good job. The different, like, my 11-year-old, Emily and my 11-year-old, when they got to, I think it was Iraq or whatever it was, and Gilgamesh and Thena are there, and they tell Gilgamesh that Ajak is dead, and he has that pie in his hand, and the pie he's just like devastated. The pie slowly slids down and is destroyed. Emmeline was so devastated by that pie being destroyed, and that's what I was saying about like humor and drama and loss. They did a good job doing that. And I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the pie moment. It felt a little weird. I wasn't sure if maybe like they're going for just kind of straight comedy or um
It felt like
but
a
yeah,
bit both to me. It felt like a bit of both.
yeah, maybe in my mind I kind of felt like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too, even.
Maybe.
Just like in the moment
Well,
for me,
fun.
it didn't really land. I mean, I think
Um,
we're people who like we write, we're kind of um filmmakers in our own right.
yeah.
Um, um, and so I think it's tough too because you kind of go on this tangent. You talked about Ajax. Um, there were a couple of things I can't you can't help but um, kind of nitpick and kind of find things where I was like, well, like you talked about maybe kind of doing things in chronological order, things that would have been a little bit different. If 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 Kevin Feige came to you and said you can change one element of this story, you can make one, you give them one note, and they'll change the movie in some way. Um, what do you think what's the note you're giving, Kev?
I would say probably giving more screen time to Salma Hayek would be my number one
Mm-hmm.
thing. Giving more gravity to the death of her character. Um, at the same time, the reveal that Icarus is the one that caused that, I thought they did that well. But that whole thing could have been even more impactful with seeing Selma Hayek, and because like every time you saw her after the whole beginning, setting up civilization and that sort of thing, which is not even too much. Then it's very quick little Sprite and Ajak in a house like singing a song together, and then it's like over. So
Yeah,
giving more time for Selma Hayek's character would be my number one thing.
yeah.
What about
You know,
you?
well, it's not if I'm biased, just in general, against this one um, kind of story element. Um, and I never like it, and maybe I've just seen it too much. But the whole getting the band back together, um, kind of structure, I'm really not a fan of. Um, I think you're when you're kind of going from like one character to the next, and I know that it gives you a chance to give each of those characters kind of their little spotlight, and you get to kind of get to know them a bit. This movie is long, and I think that's good because if they'd gone for a more traditional kind of 2 hour runtime, um, you would have had to have kept in all the kind of getting the band back together, which would have kind of exacerbated the problem. But yeah,
Yeah.
it slows things down. I think it'd be nice, especially with something like this. So much of the story is about this kind of family dynamic. Rather than seeing every person separately find out about Ajax's death. Um, if rather than having to get everyone together separately, if you're just kind of having that more of a group moment. Um, I think I feel that way for any movie, but I think especially would have helped this one.
I could understand that sentiment, but to play devil's advocate, what would you actually do in that situation? How do you just say, "Hey, we have our call beacon or whatever," and it can call everyone to us, or like let everyone know we need to meet up, or what do you? Because they all needed to get together. So how would you actually do that?
Well, if we're changing things, um, I think. Well, okay. So I have to stay with my own premise. I said that Kevin Feige said we could change one thing, so I'm not going to change more than one thing.
Yeah,
Um,
motherfucker.
because to be honest, I would get rid of Ajax, um,
You would
but
just
yeah,
get rid of the character Ajax.
I would have just Icarus be the leader from the beginning.
See, I
Um,
think I go ahead. Never mind.
but sticking with the premise that I created, um, yeah, and it could maybe even just be Icarus sends out some kind of beacon or something, and gets everyone together, and they're thinking, oh, like we're going home, and maybe he doesn't tell anyone kind of what's going on, and then when they're in the ship all together, it's like, hey, so where's Ajax? And then he drops it, bro, she's dead.
Well, technically, I would say Cersei would be the one, since she got chosen by Ajax to be the leader to probably put out the message for everybody.
Well, I mean, part of that happened because she was there. You know, it's like Ajax dies. Um, you know, Cersei didn't kind of find out about that until days later. So Icarus could have immediately kind of called everyone together.
That'd be a little telling. Like he kills or he sets up Ajax, and then almost immediately the body is still warms. Like, all right, I got to put a phone call out here. We got to get everyone together.
Well, but they knew that they were, because they had kind of gone their separate ways. But Icarus and Ajax had kind of stayed together. Sprite was talking about how she had left um, Ajax to go kind of check in on Cersei.
Yeah.
So it's within reason that they were kind of spending time together.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what Kevin says. We'll talk to him about it. I hate to do this because we're in the middle of a nice, like, hot, nice little convo, but I have to absolutely do a quick bio break. My gigantic cup of coffee is it's too big. This is too big. So, people watching, I absolutely apologize. I will be right back. I promise I'll wash my hands. If you could, please, in chat, go ahead and drop any sort of, if you've seen the movie or anything, any sort of things you want us to talk about. I will be right back. Phil?
You gonna leave me here with them?
Yeah, I don't know what else you're gonna do, buddy. You gotta have a conversation about something.
What if they attack? It's not a conversation. I'm just talking to myself.
You can talk to. I talk to myself all the time. That's why I'm a moderate to successful dungeon master. Which that could be something you could talk about as Neighborhood RPG and the upcoming stream that is going to be amazing, and possibly the guest star that we're gonna have. I gotta go.
Should I mention the guest star? All right. Well, yeah, I guess we'll pause for a quick commercial. So we obviously have this show here that we do Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. It's just two assholes bullshitting. But we also have Angelo is a dungeon master for D&D. We have a campaign that we're getting close to the end of right now. We do that Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. So if you're into D&D or if you're just kind of curious, it's not something that I was really familiar with, and I'm not still, it's not something I'm naturally a huge fan of. But I think what I've been appreciating is the just kind of the fun of the storytelling and the improv. So check it out if you're into D&D or not. We are coming up to kind of the end of this epic story that we've been doing. We may have a special guest reappearance this coming Tuesday that we're working on. So I'll just leave that as a cliffhanger.
I really wish I had my phone with me so I could have heard what you actually said. God damn it.
I'm trying to remember if I said anything derogatory towards you. Right? I mean, that was kind of the prime opportunity. No, I referenced this show as a couple of assholes bullshitting, but I don't think I said anything else.
Fair enough. Mom, Pa, Baka say hello.
Hello.
I really hope that was the moment that they jumped in, was you by yourself while I was in the bathroom real quick. That would have been so perfect. Like, what happened to Angelo?
If it was, I wish that they were as kind of mean and sarcastic as the rest of us, and they could have typed in the chat saying, "Oh, I really I really like the new format."
Just keep the whole spot for me, but then also have just you by yourself.
Yeah, I like it's me. Yeah,
I like it. That's the way we should do it from here forth. I totally understand that. I'm dependent upon the computer, Mom. She said the time change messed her up.
Oh. Well, I mean, nowadays so many the clocks are digital, so it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, I honestly live off of my computer and phone time. Yeah. My watch I need to reset. Right now I'm living in the future.
Oh shit. What's it like?
It's still shitty. Still
right. Yeah.
Still moderately shitty. So yeah, Mom, just to catch up, we're talking about Marvel's Eternals. I almost guarantee you didn't go see that movie yesterday or Friday. So if you want to join us in the chat about anything else while we're talking about it, go ahead. So that is what we are discussing today on the Too Much Time podcast.
Well, there's another subject that we had kind of talked about. I might be throwing kind of a curveball at you, actually.
Do it.
One of the kind of things that is kind of related to this movie that has been in the news a lot is the Rotten Tomatoes score. We talked about earlier about kind of mentioning this and kind of going over that a bit. But I might have a curveball, so feel free to, roll with me or tell me to go to hell. But I kind of don't want to give it too much time. I kind of feel like the whole idea of all that is kind of, earmuff bullshit. And
Wow. I honestly, going off, you told me not to even look at it. I haven't until this very second, but go ahead.
yeah, I don't want to give it, it's
It's bullshit.
it has so much power now over movies, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mr. Sunday Movies, or someone was talking about Rotten Tomatoes and how it works. And they put this percentage up, but like, let's say if I'll try to think of the analogy they made, but if a movie has 95 like lukewarm, kind of mostly positive reviews, and then 5 reviews that are like, nah, I don't really care for it that much, it gets a 95%.
Yeah.
But if a movie gets 95 reviews that say this is the most amazing movie ever, and 5 reviews that say, yeah, I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite movie, it also gets a 95%. But that's obviously a very different reception from a movie, but they get the same score. So it's complete bullshit. People get caught up too much in, I'm sorry, I'll let you go. I've been just rambling.
No, it's fine. Just real quick before we continue, Anonymous, aka Ma and Pa Baka, just tipped $25. Thank you very much, Ma and Pa. We really appreciate it. As you were just up here recently in the Super Baka Bros studios and saw all of our equipment that you have helped. Yeah, both shows, the Too Much Time podcast and the Neighborhood RPG. You got a first view of what it takes to make this, and all this equipment and support is because of you, so we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Going back to what we're talking about, you're talking about the Rotten Tomato score, I think.
Yeah, just I think I just said I don't want to get into it too much because it just gives it more, almost like kind of feeds the beast. But this obviously kind of plays into fan backlash, and obviously things like Star Wars and so many of the other kind of properties have been dealing with kind of the internet mob. But kind of, so what's your kind of perspective on it, either in general or with this movie?
Well, so in general, it's something that I think not even just like a Rotten Tomatoes, or what I was trying to talk about prior to the podcast starting was YouTube or any sort of like entity on the internet that critiques or reviews movies or anything, that they almost use it to further their own content creation. Like the few different ones that I enjoy and trust their opinion on stuff have used it to like say, is it the worst Marvel movie of all time as like the title of their screen or their video, I mean. And it's disappointing, to be honest with you, because is it a perfect Marvel movie? No, there is no such thing, and there never will be. Is it a very entertaining movie with flaws? Absolutely, and I really enjoyed it. So to like do this blanket, is it the worst Marvel movie as a title for your video is honestly bullshit. Like, it really is a lazy way to get clicks on your videos. And I get it, we're content creators here on the internet ourselves. We are trying to we are. I mean,
part of the problem.
Yeah. We are part of the problem. We put videos out that
we can have as the title for this video.
The title for this video is
Worst Marvel movie ever? Question mark? Exclamation?
No, other way around. Exclamation question mark. Little curveball there. Yeah.
Shit.
Just bad grammar in general. I figure if I'm going to be absolute troll, might as well have bad grammar along with it. Um, so I get it. It's hard to create content online. There's a lot of people doing that, but at the same time, I feel like there's still a bit of a responsibility when you are trying to review something to have not a absolute lazy slash troll mentality about it. Even if I guarantee you, later on, I'll probably click on those videos because I do trust their opinion on Marvel or comics, and they'll probably say, "Yeah, it was a really entertaining movie, and I enjoyed it." But just that
Yeah.
title alone, it has influence. There's over 130 views on one of the videos I'm talking about. It does have influence on people if they want to go see that movie, and I think it's a bit reckless.
Yeah. Yeah, you're saying this. I'm remembering too. One of the few videos I watched so far was Hype or Heroes Were Forged.
Yeah, that was the other one I saw.
Yeah, they never do any of that kind of thing. They even had like on their thumbnail had some like text about did they chew off more than they could bite or bite off more than
Bite
chew or
off more
whatever.
than they could chew. Yeah, you know the saying.
um, and like they never do that kind of thing. Like they're like they might be the least clickbaity,
Yeah.
trolly entity in this kind of realm, but even they kind of couldn't help but do it.
And you watched that video?
Most it's like an hour long. I think I got through like three-quarters of it.
Okay. And did it seem like they were bashing on the video or the movie, or?
No, Hector had it in his top 10. Um, the other two were more kind of unsure, but by the end of the conversation that I listened to, they were talking about, you know, how much they liked it. There's maybe, small tweaks that they would have made or that, small things that didn't work for them, but that for the most part they were really impressed by it and enjoyed it.
It's definitely, and to be completely honest, and I don't want to use this movie as a just to stomp on it, but it's so when I saw this movie and I left, I was like, I need to see that movie again. Like I really do. It's entertaining. I enjoyed it. I also need to see it again because there's so much going on that I want to just re-experience it again. Not I don't want to bash this movie, but
Sure.
I did not have that same feeling for Black Widow. Like I saw that movie. There was entertaining parts. I loved Yelena. I thought she is probably one of the best new characters in the MCU in the last 2 to 3 years. I don't really care too much to see it again, to be honest with you. And I've the exact opposite feeling about Eternals. I really am looking forward to watching it again. So, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but another movie with a bit of get the band back together kind of structure to it. It really slows the movie down.
It does. I feel like you're really harping a little too much on that trope.
I mean, show me an example where it works.
Ocean's 11.
I mean, that's like the only one.
I mean, that's off the top of my head. What do you want me to do? Come up with 20?
Come up with one more. I'll pay you $1 million, Angelo.
Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
No, that's not really getting the band back together.
Well, they got Han Solo, and then they got, they had to go get Leia, and then Boba Fett, and they had to.
You're just saying names now.
That guy from Upright Citizens Brigade, who always says the titular lines in the Star Wars movies.
I'm tired of all these Star Wars.
I honestly would love if Star Wars actually had a little nod to that character. That would be so funny.
They should just have him on like the Mandalorian, like in a canteen, like in a bar, just sitting at the bar top. He doesn't have to say anything. Just like, like overly pantomiming, like, oh. And we know what he's thinking is,
yeah,
so tired of him.
So tired of all these Star Wars. So yeah, I don't think we need to talk more about the whole critic stuff. Let's just move along from there. But definitely an issue that people need to understand going into this, that this has a 43 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's absolute bullshit.
Is it 53? Like
43.
Like, no, I'm saying it was like 53, like 4 days ago.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, absolute bullshit. Bullshit.
And that's the problem too. Is it just snowballs? Like people see this low score, and then it's like, oh well, yeah, maybe this isn't a good movie, and then the reviews that would have been like mostly positive and slightly negative become more 50-50, and then that puts it rotten category as opposed to a fresh category.
Yeah, I agree. So let's get into the individual characters, not one by one. I don't want to do that. What I would like to
We'll
do
wait for
though
that.
is, yeah, definitely. What I'd like to do is, what are your favorites and the favorite moments of those characters?
Hmm.
So, like, who is your favorite character from this movie?
I mean, just as far as like the viewing experience of this movie, I really appreciated Icarus.
Yeah,
Um,
very complex character.
yeah, it was,
Same thing
and
with Cersei.
yeah, it was interesting too because I came with kind of limited experience from the comic storyline, but in the comics he's a big character who's
It's
kind of
huge.
throughout a lot of different things, and so
Yeah.
him not only kind of being the villain of the whole movie, but then also kind of dying at the
Spoilers.
end. Yeah, you give a spoiler alert at the very beginning.
Well, people are
Um,
jumping in and out right now, so I'm just letting people know as they're watching this. There's
spoilers.
huge, definitely spoilers as we talk about this. So go
Okay,
ahead.
so as we're going back and forth, when one of us starts to talk, we just have to say spoilers and then continue.
Yeah, you do it for me, and I'll do it for you.
Okay. Um,
Spoilers.
thank you. Um, yeah, that was a bit surprising. I wasn't sure how I felt about it first, but I kind of appreciated it after the fact. Um, and I think that they did a good job with, he had a kind of, I almost said heel turn. Um, he ended up kind of being a villain. And at first, I was kind of worried it was going to feel kind of unearned or, feel like just a device. But, later in the movie, especially like when he's going to try and stop Cersei and he doesn't, and um, when he's kind of having to fight, or like even after he's responsible for the death of Ajax, and then he responds um, with sadness. Um, they kind of really made him a conflicted character. It wasn't he's not really doing what he's doing for evil purposes. He's really kind of torn between his loyalty to the Celestials and his love for his family.
Yeah,
Um,
they did a very good job with that and portraying his conflict, inner conflict. That was done extremely well.
yeah, and then the only other thing with his powers would be, they could very easily could have made him a Superman level kind
They
of
even made that
character.
joke in the movie, which I thought was
Yeah,
extremely funny. You know how they kind of played that.
yeah, but again, when he's fighting the deviants, like he's not this like omnipotent kind of superhuman. Um, yeah, I think that was a good approach to take to make him, feel more grounded.
Yeah.
How about you?
Um,
Spoilers.
there you go. So, to go to a character who I think not literally is a omnipotent, super powerful character, but I felt as a characterization of him, Kingo was so much of
Yeah.
the heart of this movie that I absolutely love that character so much. Like every single beat that the Kingo had was either funny, heartfelt, or funny and heartfelt, and it's so
Honey.
it's it's so good the way that they did that. His valet,
Mhm.
Karan, I can't.
I
I'm
remember.
saying it right or not. Was a perfect sort of
Hmm.
the human side, even though every one of these characters are like partly going through this human experience as
Yeah.
well. He was like the human side of what everyone is going through, and the way they did that was so brilliant and funny and amazing. I felt bad for him when Druig was messing with him and he was apologizing for breaking the camera because Druig made him break the camera. It was like funny and like sad at the same time. And I think this movie in general does that very well, where they give you humor and heartbreak and they thread that line. And I think Kingo, the character himself, played by Kamal, is it Kamal?
Male.
Kumail, my bad. One of my favorite. I have to say this. He is my favorite character actor on Portlandia. Whenever he shows up, he's absolutely brilliant, and it shows here in this movie. So, a brilliant job by him. And there's a couple of other ones that I would say are along those lines. Fastos is somebody that you really felt for the loss that this character potentially could go through if everything goes wrong. He has a husband and a child, but at the same time, super funny at moments that really needed that to kind of not keep this from being just like a seriously sad and dreary movie. And they did a good job with him.
Yeah, Gilgamesh, I liked him a lot too.
Yeah.
Again, spoilers, he didn't do it for me, but yeah, I was really
Spoilers.
sad that he didn't stick around for the entire movie. Um,
Well, kind of, if you think about Crow.
yeah, I think that was maybe. I don't know if is there, you want to talk about more characters that you enjoy, but we can kind of maybe get into Crow a little bit too.
Yeah, I would definitely want to talk about Crow for the simple fact that he's the deviant that is the main sort of antagonist throughout this movie. We don't get to see much actual acting from Bill Skarsgård, who, if you don't know who that is, that's the gentleman who played in the movie It as Pennywise, also in a couple of other TV shows on Netflix. So I'm glad that he got the opportunity to be in a Marvel movie, but it's the same line of Chris, what's his name from Doctor Who and Gone in 60 Seconds as the Dark Elf in Thor 2. Like, he's in the movie, but you have no idea that's probably him if you didn't look it up on IMDb.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you know that definitely kind of continues the issue that Marvel movies have with villains.
Yep.
And I don't think it's a problem that prevents the movies from being enjoyable, but
Yeah,
you have to admit, I mean, it is a bit of a problem.
it is.
I think I had a whole problem um with the deviants just in general too, because you know we find out like what the real reason for the Celestials and the deviants is, and he seems to gain some kind of awareness.
Yeah.
Um, but I wasn't really sure what his motives were. Especially late in the movie where he shows up to the fight, and it seems like at first he's helping Icarus, but you know if he's aware of kind of what's happening, hypothetically, shouldn't he be trying to stop the um, Celestial from coming up as well?
I think that's flipped. He actually attacked Icarus, and then he started to help Icarus by attacking the other Eternals. Because he actually attacks Icarus during that whole fight, and then he like lands, and then it fights the other Eternal. Because he really wanted to get Thena, is the vibe that I got. Like, he really was after Thena, like the weakness that Thena was going through. And Angelina Jolie as Thena didn't get a lot of screen time. I thought they should have given her a bit more. She did a really good job with the time that she did have, showing the sort of weakness and badassery as the best, what they said, the best fighter, I think is the description out of all the Eternals.
Yeah.
She really was pretty badass when she was going full go. She fought all the Eternals at once, and you could tell even with Icarus, who's supposed to be like the most powerful, gave him some serious trouble.
Yeah. She was good. I think, at certain points,
Spoilers.
I'm kind of wondering. Thank you. Um, at certain points, I'm kind of thinking like it's kind of weird. Angelina Jolie's in this movie, like she's
Yeah.
not really doing anything. So the idea that they got this, huge movie actress for the role is a little odd. I mean, just in general, I guess, kind of going back to things we would change. I think the team's too big. I don't think you need all those people. Um, I think if you would have gone with, like maybe 6 people in the team, and Ajax dies at the beginning, so the actual movie, you're really kind of living with kind of 5 characters.
I think to counter that argument, I think the biggest reason why the team was bigger is because of the characters that they lost, and then going forward, it feels like Angelina Jolie's character is going to be more prominent in the next Eternals movie. So it definitely suffered in this movie as far as her character and the storyline of it. But going forward, I think she'll be probably one of the more prominent figures.
Yeah, but you've already established a mechanism for um, kind of getting into her character more without having to have her in this movie because the one set of Eternals at the end is going off into the world to find more Eternals because there's hypothetically an infinite number of Eternals out there.
Yeah.
And we met a new one in one of the post-credit scenes.
Yeah, holy shit, man. That reaction to my audience was... It was...
A lot of young girls.
Oh, dude, it was mixed between young girls and me, yeah. So it... Hey, man, Harry Styles is a gorgeous human being. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, I don't get that excited around gorgeous men, but...
I do.
Fair enough.
It's like, I was watching a music video recently, and this super gorgeous guy came on, and I looked at Brittany and I just went, he is fine, because he was.
All right. That's just game recognizing game, I think.
Yeah, you gotta respect it. But
yeah, I mean, you could have Thena pop up in the next movie as one of the Eternals that they meet. It's kind of a benefit that they have as a franchise, hypothetical going forward, is that you can have people kind of come and go. And as long as you still have that kind of core group of people, that's okay because you have an infinite number of Eternals that you could potentially have involved.
Yeah, and it's tough because, like I said, it's a lot of different characters in a one movie situation. So I think they did a good job, but obviously there is moments. Athena, Ajax, that kind of suffered from that sort of storytelling. But overall, I mean, they did a good job, like giving each character their own wants and needs, different motives. Sprite's character I thought was done extremely well. It's tough because I honestly did. It's funny because you haven't read the comics and you talk about that at the beginning, but throughout this whole...
I know I said that, but it feels like you're fucking coming at me.
Well, I'm just saying this because throughout the whole movie...
Careful, bro.
Spoilers, you didn't do that for me. Throughout the whole movie, I didn't get the vibe of Sprite from the comics. I was like, okay, I kind of like the whiny, complaining child character, even though Sprite is over 7,000 years, in the comics 10,000 years. But then by the end of it, you get like, okay, I see what they're doing. Sprite's motives, like they set that up fairly well, and it mirrors what happens in the comics as well, because in the comics, Sprite is a troublesome character that causes all kinds of mischief, and I feel like that really wasn't, besides like maybe messing with some people here and there, baby Gilgamesh I thought was a perfect example of that, dressing him up as a big baby, which was very funny. I wasn't getting that vibe, but then maybe it is a little bit not lazy, but not great storytelling that you only get that vibe for the later half of the movie as far as Sprite's true, motives. But by the end of it, I really did appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie would have been better without her. If you wanted to kind of leave her in there, I mean, one thing you could do too would be the whole idea of her and Icarus just didn't really work. They didn't do anything to really establish it other than a couple of moments early where they kind of alluded to it. I think it'd be fair for her to make the choice that she makes later in the movie based purely off the idea that, well, let's finish this job that we're on, and then, maybe before we go to the next job, I can, the Celestials can address whatever issues I have, as opposed to her making the choices that she did because she was in love with Icarus. Like that felt false.
I could understand that. And just to be a complete asshole to you, it's very telling that the three characters that you don't think are necessary in this movie are the three female characters. some of the three female characters of this movie. So just let that sit in your head for a little bit there, Phil, as we go to a quick ad here. I wish I had an ad I could just play.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the ones I would get rid of would actually be Sprites, Athena, and Druid.
Oh, really? You think Druid?
I liked him. He served no purpose, and he's an interesting character. So again, like maybe have him pop up in the second movie, and maybe he's like more. I don't think they did too much. I think people coming into this have their own ideas of what he was going to be, especially because of comics.
Yeah.
And so I think there's more intrigue to the idea whether or not he's a villain in our own heads than there is in the actual movie. But if he popped up in the second movie, you could do more of that explicitly. He pops up and it's like, oh, I don't know if we can trust this character.
Yeah, I can understand that. And it's something that this movie has going against it, having so many characters, having, even though a longer movie time, it's still 2.5 hours. It's a lot going on.
Well, 240.
236, I thought.
I think it's 239, 239. But anyway, doesn't matter.
So 237. So
closer to 40 than 30.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. that. Even still having all that, it's still vastly more entertaining than a huge portion of the Marvel movies that are, like, oh yeah, they're entertaining, but I would take this storytelling Marvel movie over a lot of them. Thor 2 being one of them.
Come on.
Dude, come on. Get the hell out.
Low fruit.
It is, absolutely. But I mean, it's just one example. I don't want to bash on Black Widow anymore. I feel like I bash on it too much. I'm not saying that, And I thought Black Widow was a fun movie, but
it's fun.
Yeah. What else would you like to talk about as far as this movie? Maybe some of the other things that this movie set up for Marvel going forward, or what would you like to discuss?
We can probably move on to what comes next. The only other thought, kind of working off of what you had said with the runtime, it is almost 2 hours and 40 minutes, but
fucking bitch.
It really, I said almost. I split the difference. It doesn't feel it. I think Chloe Zhao is a great filmmaker and storyteller. I think having her part of the writing is really helpful.
Yeah.
And even though it's a long amount of time, it probably felt shorter than a lot of movies that have been out that are only 2 hours long. They don't have. Again, I felt like getting.
I was gonna agree with you. I'm gonna agree with you on that. Yes, I agree with you. That definitely shortens the experience because like you go from one beat to this person, like they're gonna go to this one, so it shortens your just the perception of the movie itself.
Feels more formulaic.
Yeah, I'll agree with that part. Yep.
But yeah, I thought I was on board the entire time. It didn't feel like a slog.
And I think one thing that we haven't talked about before we go forward is the cinematography of this movie. Like, it was beautifully shot, man. There's so many moments that that you look at this and you go, this doesn't necessarily even look visually like a Marvel movie, especially where I'm looking at the movie poster and they're all in their Eternals costumes and it's very, superhero-esque. You don't see that for the majority of the movie. They're not at the very beginning. They're like that. And then toward the end they are, and the majority of it, they're in human clothes. And I thought that was a very smart thing to do, where they're not always walking around looking like some sort of, god or goddess. So I do, and you haven't done this every time you said this, I do appreciate it.
Oh shit, I forgot.
Yeah.
I can appreciate
it. Yeah. Well, there you go. So definitely a smart way to go. Going forward, though, out of all of the Marvel entities, whether Disney Plus or movies, this sets up quite a bit, man. This is doing a lot, and not even just with the two post-credit scenes, but the end of the movie itself. There
are two post-credit scenes.
Yeah, spoilers. There are two post-credit. That's it. That's what we're talking about. The end of that movie when Arishem shows up, that was that was effing gnarly, dude. Like him up against the planet and everything. That was so hardcore. Like I would have lost my effing mind.
Yeah. There was Aaron and I saw the movie, and then we're walking home afterwards and talking about it. I have to kind of mention that two of the things that we talked about. I mostly just let her talk because she's completely coming in blind from all this.
Nice.
Um, the just thinking about this world this exists in, the world that's experienced all these different, every single Marvel movie has had some huge, disaster attached to it, like
Yeah.
in the climaxes. Not to mention, a couple of snaps, all these, crazy things that have happened. Um, at the end of this, when that huge alien shows up in the sky, that in of itself would be completely traumatizing. Like,
Yeah.
people would be, having mental health crises just based off that one experience. And this exists in a world where they've had hundreds of those kinds of moments happen.
Seriously, even if you go back to Incredible Hulk, like the Edward Norton one, like the destruction of Harlem
Yeah.
at the end of that movie, like that's devastating, and to go to a huge, gigantic, six-eyed being on like the way they did that on the horizon, that was so gnarly. And it really, honestly, man, as soon as I saw that, it's the first thing I thought, and you had to have thought it too, is we have to be seeing Galactus in the near future. And if he looks like that, I am all for it. I do not want this effing, cloudy mist, entity like we saw in Fantastic Four 2. I don't know why I say it like that, but I'm all for that Galactus. Like that is going to be so gnarly.
Yeah. Well, I did someone else was talking about the idea too. And I think this might be from the comics that they kind of set up a good way to do him, where he's kind of the anti-celestial. They're creating these planets that they have little celestial seed, and basically the life on it is helping to grow the celestial. He could be going around eating planets that have the celestial
Specifically
seed
have
in
it. Yeah, that has to be the way to go forward. And it's funny because Galactus, that's his whole thing. He needs the energy to not only survive, but he also is the balance to the universe, so that it doesn't get too big and destroy upon itself. I think,
well, building off what you said, I just want to say I want to be a therapist in the MCU.
It'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work.
If spoilers, if Steve Rogers was still around, he'd be very busy in his little therapy group chat that he went to, but he's on the moon now, so but going forward with the Marvel stuff, so we have the universe stuff that they're setting up. I think is going to be very exciting. Do you want to talk about one of the post-credit scenes? I think is the way to go about this.
Well, I mean, maybe we can kind of keep it. So there's two elements. There's one, like what it means for the Eternals, and what it means for the larger MCU.
Yeah.
As far as Eternals, I actually kind of like what they set up because, I'm hoping that the Eternals can still be its own thing, but they've kind of set it up to be, almost kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of a story going forward, where they're going out into the into space, and they're going to be kind of going different places, meeting all different kinds of people, bringing in Eros. It had kind of a fun kind of playful feel to it, which like maybe that's kind of what they have going forward, is more of that kind of Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, kind of a playful kind of element.
There's definitely going to be a crossover between that. There has to be some sort of crossover.
Which I know Galactus is technically a Fantastic Four villain, but maybe he's not in the MCU. They can do whatever they want. That might be an interesting story where maybe the Eternals, Thor, and the Guardians get together at some point to stop Galactus.
Well, that's the thing too, because they've announced who is playing Adam Warlock, and Who knows if he's going to be some sort of straight up villain or some sort of anti hero that they all have to get together to maybe prevent Galactus from eating a planet or whatever it may be. But there's so many different possibilities that they now have set up that they could branch off and do.
Yeah.
And then you have Gore, the God Butcher, also out there. So there's a lot going on. Like the universe side of MCU has never been as big as it is now, and I'm super excited for it because so many people who watch these movies ask, what is after the outrageously successful Infinity War and Endgame storylines, like what are they going to do after this? And a lot of people who knew about Kane the Conqueror, like, oh, it's obviously got to be Kane the Conqueror as, the next big bad. And there's so many different things that they can do that's not just Kane the Conqueror.
Yeah. Plus,
So-
you can have multiple Thanos storylines. You can have Galactus out in the universe.
Yep.
You can have King the Conqueror on Earth. You can have, so many different things going on all
Or
at
the
once.
God Butcher.
Yeah, without having to kind of combine. I mean, I assume they're probably gonna, kind of get rid of him in the Thor movie, but
It's tough.
he feels like a one and done.
I hope not. I mean, in the comics, they brought him back later, after the amazing comic series that Thor had with Gore the God Butcher. But then you throw on top of that where Gore is created is, the God Null, which is the symbiote god. Like, does that tie into all this Venom shit,
All right, we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that's the thing, though. We're talking about what is the potential of the future of Marvel and what this one movie is setting up, and it really is setting up quite a bit, man.
I mean, the other thing is the Black Knight. I think there isn't too much to talk about with him. Obviously, he'll wield the sword, gonna gain his powers. I'm assuming he's gonna go try to find Cersei. So I don't know how he gets into space to try and find her. But there's a voice in that scene that talks to him. I want to see if I can find it online to listen to it again, because in the moment it sounded very familiar, but I couldn't place it. I've heard other people say who they think it is.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you recognized it in the moment?
Yeah.
And who did you feel like it was?
I feel like it's probably Mahershala Ali. I'm saying his name horribly wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Blade?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's why, going back to what you were saying about Black Knight going to outer space, I feel like that's probably the biggest reason why he doesn't go to outer space.
Not being able to?
Not being able to, yeah. I feel like there's something on Earth. Like, he goes to take that blade, and there is something on Earth that Blade is going to need his help with that keeps him there. And then down the line, ultimately, when Cersei gets rescued by Athena and Star Fox's creepy ass, which in the comics, Star Fox is a creepy ass character, to be honest with you. So having Harry Styles, I thought was a very interesting way to go about it. They all come back together. Black Knight will have his own sort of adventure that he had gone on. That's my view, at least.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think that the kind of counter argument would be that, because one name that I heard people saying might have been the owner of the voice was Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, as the Watcher. Ooh, yeah, I could see that.
So I guess, if that'd be the opposite direction, if they do want to kind of send him out into the world, the Watcher could be a vehicle for that.
And that'd be a great way, because a lot of people are asking after What If, how are they going to introduce the Watcher?
Yeah, they gotta have Jeffrey Wright in the.
Yeah, there's if they're just like the What If show is its own sort of entity and it's not connected to the MCU, is it almost as bad as Spider-Man 3, Tobey Spiderman Spider-Man, setting up all these different croc things that they didn't use, and then just this horrible. I don't want to get into that movie. I'm just saying they set up so many things, they dropped the damn ball. That's the scale of how bad it would be if they do not bring in Jeffrey Wright's The Watcher into this MCU.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a busy man, you know. He's Commissioner Gordon and the Watcher, so he's got a very busy 5 to 6 years of his working career right now.
Well, he just finished James Bond, so he has some more free time now.
That's true. That's true. He was very good in James Bond. I love him in Casino Royale.
Yeah. So,
Uh, what else?
oh, I was gonna say, I mean, it feels like we can maybe move on to final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go first?
Well, I asked you, so.
Fair enough. Spoilers. Final thoughts on this movie in general is it is far more positive than negative, and I am not only excited for what this movie is setting up for the future, but also just Marvel movies being different than the original formula that they started out. Like, this is not the original formula, and it's got me very excited. Like, we need new, different directors like Chloe, and we need different storytelling than we've got, and I think this is one great example of that. So I'm very excited for the characters in this going forward. I'm very excited for the overall storytelling. Hopefully it follows this trend where it's very different. I think Doctor Strange is going to be one of those where it's a horror-esque sort of Marvel movie first, and a superhero, you know, action-packed movie second. But you know, this is a very good Marvel movie that I think a lot of people, one, need to see, and two, need to understand that it is doing a lot of legwork for the future of Marvel going forward. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of reiterate some of the stuff I said earlier. I really appreciated the kind of the character moments and, you know, appreciate, um, that they gave us that. Um, I'm kind of excited for what comes next. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of stuff I haven't already said, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I think, it doesn't feel quite as action packed. Um, there is a good kind of sense of humor to it, but
Yeah.
it felt less jokey than most Marvel movies, which I kind of appreciated. Um, I think sometimes it gets a little too much.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind, like, let's like give us a Marvel movie that's not jokey at all. Like, we can kind of have everything, not everything. They hit it out of the park with Iron Man, and then after that, it's like, well,
Everything's got to be jokey.
everything's got to be jokey. It's like, well,
I got a good feeling that Blade probably will be one of the first movies that's just not flat out jokey all the time.
They don't do it a ton, but sometimes they'll kind of do genre-ish storylines, but they'll do it within the Marvel kind of formula. Like, a heist movie with Ant-Man,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I would love it if they did Blade and they did it in the style of like a 90s action movie. And
Ooh.
and Blade is like making little quips like, he like, cut someone's head off and he says, "Oh, don't lose your head." That's not my head. If I had a chance to workshop it, I'd come with something.
Kevin Feige is watching this right now, and he just unsubscribed.
Oh, he unfollowed. Damn it. Kevin, no. But yeah, I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I think it's one of the better origin stories that Marvel has done.
For sure. Which is saying a lot considering how many people they have in this damn movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of origins.
Seriously. So, going forward, I hope that commercially it is a very successful movie, because there's a lot of things going against this movie, and the outer sort of not out of their control realm.
Yeah.
So I hope it's going to be good. If it comes to this, spoilers, I live on an island. If it comes to this island, to our movie theater, I'll probably see it again. Because I live on an island, it's really hard to go see movies. So, it's just to give you an idea of how much I wanted to see this movie. We went off the island and saw it. So I'm looking forward to what this movie does for Marvel going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Rotten Tomato. It also is not going to be showing in China or in the Middle East.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Um, so,
Why?
um, she is from China. She was doing interviews for a past movie, and she talked about just like having like living in China and having kind of a rough, um, life in China,
Yeah.
and Chinese government didn't like it, so they decided they're not going to show any of her movies anymore.
Which I gotta say, Eddie, a good friend of ours who we'll probably have on the show in the future, was talking about how Marvel needs to start taking more risk with the casting and also directing. That to me is, a risk that I think Marvel is taking, and one I'm glad they are taking. If they knew that ahead of time that this
Yeah,
movie is not going to be shown in China, which is probably the biggest, I think.
other than U.S., it's the biggest.
Yeah, it's got to be the biggest for them ticket wise. That's a bold move, and I respect that.
Yeah, and they left. They're not getting showed in Saudi Arabia and some other kind of nearby countries because of the Fastos, him and his husband.
Same sex,
Um,
which we didn't talk about too much because
it
it's a
doesn't.
bullshit controversy that is not even a controversy. That
No,
it's so stupid.
I appreciate that we didn't talk about it because it doesn't matter. Like you know, it's just two people in love. Like it's not something that should be seen any differently than any other kids. It just
Especially considering that a lot of people who complain about that say, like, oh, they're trying to put it in our faces, and it's like their story alone was done so well,
his
and
whole
you felt like, oh god, like don't let these people die. Like
yeah.
seriously, don't. They were so touching and heartfelt. I loved it.
There are really so few human characters that we
Yeah,
got to know. His family was one of the few, and so it's important that we feel the love that he feels for them. The choices he makes are largely dictated by, him trying to protect those people. So it's
exactly.
important that we feel that love.
Yep. So
Anyway,
yeah, going forward, I don't know what I would give this movie overall. I definitely think in the nearest future I want to do a MCU rewatch, and probably leading up to the last movie of the year that's going to come out from Marvel. Not the calendar year, but of like the what the hell's the next? I don't even want to look it up, but there's like a lot of big Marvel movies
are you
coming
talking about
out.
2021?
No, not for 2021, but for
Like for the fourth phase?
correct.
Oh, okay.
I want to start rewatching Marvel movies and then end up on the last Marvel movie of the phase.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it'd be good. So yeah, that is our pod on Marvel's The Eternals. If you've seen it, please in the chat drop what you thought about it, whether a plus or negative. I don't know, whatever you want to do. You're your own critic,
Do
and
you?
yeah, that's the thing. I want to really everyone to take away from watching not only just this movie or any movie, regardless of whatever the prestige critic or your best friend says about any sort of movie, video game, book, or comic, TV show. You really should listen to yourself on any of this stuff. So you do you, and as long as you are not hurting anyone or being emotionally mean to anyone, just be happy with yourself and what you're experiencing. Phil, before we get out of here, I'd like to ask you what it is that you are into recently. I know I got mine. I thought of it before we even started this whole thing because I'm that professional. I am absolutely not by any means trying to stall to come up with one.
You're
But
wasting your
what?
breath.
Yeah, because I'm. Anyways, what are you? What are you? What are you into
Well, I
recently?
did enjoy it because it seemed like for a second you were gonna forget about it, but
No, not at all. Not at all.
you can throw me under the bus. I'll throw you under the bus.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's a little TV show that I like that I want to kind of get the word out for, make sure people know about it, so that it kind of gets an audience going. But just started up its newest season, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh shit.
Um, yeah, I just started back up on HBO. Um, that's definitely. I don't have that many TV shows that I'm kind of like watching on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the one that I'm making sure to catch each week. This is just
Definitely brilliant writing. It's a delightful show. Yeah.
they don't write it.
It's all just.
They do an outline.
I mean, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll take that.
Yeah, they don't write any of the dialogue. It's just like, God, what's his name? Larry shows up to this guy's house and they talk about, you know, towels, and then they just go.
It's been a while since I've seen that show, so now that you've said that, maybe I'll go and rewatch it. For me, personally, like I would have to find a very specific time to watch that because I know my partner would not want to go through that show. It's the humor. It's like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but not as vulgar. Not the humor that they would want to experience. But I do love Curb Your Enthusiasm. Definitely a great show. I've been watching a lot of YouTube highlights actually of Curb Your Enthusiasm for some reason. Randomly, they're just showing up on my feed, so I don't know why.
Well, the show did start back up again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably some kind of like either whether it's algorithm or something. It's like more within the zeitgeist since it's back out. So
yeah,
we're getting more of it. So how about you? What are you into?
Me going off of your energy actually very recently because you've been getting into filmmaking again. Locally, I've gotten together with. I live on an island. Locals. Yeah.
We need a too much time drinking game. Take a shot
too much drinking bingo or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I play Animal Crossing with the kids. Spoilers, just quick and that's something I'm definitely gotten into again because there's a new update. And whoever plays first on the game is the island representative. And because I was the first one to play in the game, I'm the island representative. So anytime there's sort of argument about decision making on what happens on the island, I always very patronizingly, because it's like start arguing. I go, I'm the island representative, and the eye rolling that happens from the kids and Brittany is so intense. I love it. But live on an island, and got together with a couple of people who we are going to be making a very 5-minute short film here on the island, and super excited for it, to be honest with you. Acting and production is going to be my role, so definitely looking forward to it. And we just lost 2 viewers because of that, probably. The setup is we're going to get people together and come up with the story after we have everyone together. So I'm excited. It's a different approach.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Phil, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. That's not what I was going to say earlier, but I really appreciate it. This is a conversation that I think when we do these movies, it needs to be like this, where we have just seen the movie and not we've seen the movie and then weeks later kind of thing talk about it, or a week later even. So I appreciate this all lined up well, where I saw the movie, you saw the movie, the next day we could talk about it.
Yeah. I think it's tough because we talked about YouTube and some of the kind of clickbaity things people do. I think people are really, including us, like really like I don't want to say passionate because that's stupid, but like really enjoy these things, and we really want to be able to interact with others. So it's nice to be able to have these conversations with you and be able to kind of exercise that excitement for right when we're in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Everyone watching, thank you all for being here. We had a decent amount of viewers throughout the stream, so I really appreciate that. If you are not following, please hit that follow button. We are 1 follow away from getting to our follower goal, which will bring some very interesting stuff going forward. And please check out Neighborhood RPG on Tuesday, 9:00. This stream is going to be one of the best streams that I think we ever had. I have worked on this particular session for a very long time. So, Phil, I hope you're ready.
I'm ready. I already did the pitch while you were.
Is that what you were talking about? All right, I like that. That's a smart move. So, everyone here, I don't know, unless you would want something you want to say.
No, I was gonna say we hadn't really talked about it on camera. We didn't end up doing anything, but We don't know the exact date, but we're, just over a year into Super Rocker Bros.
Yeah.
Streaming, so yay us. I don't know. We had all these plans about like, doing like big, anniversary streams and things, but we'll save that for next year, I guess.
We'll save that for next year when we have, a bit more viewers and also something better planned, because our viewers deserve a planned out sort of celebration. So everyone that's here, thank you for being a part of the Super Vodka Bros experience and growing this channel. And we are only looking to get bigger and better and more well produced, I guess is the best way to say that. So everyone that's watching, please be patient with yourself and others. It's a simple thing you can do to make this world an easier and better place to live in. It is tough times right now, but I know with patience and also a bit of understanding, it can be definitely better. And as always, please stay hydrated. I drank 2 cup mugs of this gigantic coffee during the stream, hardly any of this water, so I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but just staying hydrated is a huge help to getting through the day. So Phil, I love you, bro. I hope you have a great Sunday. I know we got decision day soccer Sounders later, so that's going to be interesting. And I also have one of the kids' friends over. We're going to be doing D&D that I'm going to be dungeon mastering, whereas Brittany has been the dungeon master. So it'll be good. It's a good Sunday, and I hope all of you have a great Sunday.
Yeah, just do it. Have a good Sunday. I'm just telling you. It's not like an option.
Just do it.
Just
get it done.
Just have a good Sunday.
Yeah, we need to have that Shia LaBeouf over the top, of everything. Just do it.
We'll add that to the list of I don't know what you call those kind of graphics that we'll add.
Transitions, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone, thank you for being here, and we will see you on Tuesday. Or if I do a random stream on Monday of video game stuff, which is a possibility. Got into Grand Theft Auto Online on Friday, and it was pretty interesting. So I might do that on Monday. Who knows? But Phil, love you, bro. I will see you soon.
Love you too.
Everyone else, we love you. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.
For a second, I was going to pull up a dad joke, but I remember that's the wrong screen.
Well, we are still live. We're on the... Thank you for watching. So
I know, I can see it in the reflection of your poster.
Oh, can you really? Oh, look at that.